No, the thing is
He'll be short lived.
Remember I said you would have to use your keep on for me.
Because it does. Make sure everything is Oh my God! Yes. And they're fast. Yeah, it was crazy.
So I know what you're saying.
That's what them people were doing the other day.
I know how the auditor will look at it, so.
Yes, let's see this now.
I'm gonna go home.
Me too. Check the fridge. There was something there the last time.
That's his good old. Very prevalent. So Lee, you gonna stay awake for this?
It is now 7:04. It's actually at the racetrack. Race car. I should be there. We're going to open up today, which is the regular meeting of the City of Lake Helen. We just completed our workshop, financial workshop. We open with a prayer. We open with a pledge of allegiance, and hopefully it will carry over. As I said, the only one that's, we're all here. The attorney's here, who was in early for this current meeting. I'm going to read our commission meeting, I guess the rules of the road. Welcome to the City of Lake Helen City Commission meeting. The agenda for regularly scheduled commission meetings is posted in City Hall the week of the meeting. Agendas and all backup materials supporting each agenda item are available at City Hall on the city's website, Lake Helen, www.lakehelen.org. Persons desiring to address the commission must fill out and provide the mayor a yellow request to speak form located by the door. After being recognized by the mayor, persons are asked to come forward and speak from the podium, state their name and address, and direct all remarks to the commission as a body, not to individual members of the commission, staff, or audience. Citizen comments during the public comment in each section of the agenda where public comment is allowed are asked to limit the discussion to 3 minutes. Large groups are asked to name a spokesperson. The period of time is for comments and not for questions directed to the commission or staff for immediate answers. Questions directed to the City Commission will be referred to staff and should be answered by staff within a reasonable period of time following the date of the meeting. Order and decorum will be preserved at all meetings. Personal, impertinent, or slanderous remarks are not permitted. Thank you for participating in your city government. I'm reading this has been on every single commission package that we've had. It's the first time I read it aloud, and so I think in keeping with good decorum that we would be reading that. We've already did the roll call. Ceremonial matters, we've already done that. At this point, are any deletions or modifications to this agenda? Mr. Administrator?
Yeah.
We have two city administrators, but one is on his way in and one is on his way out.
No, we're doing a transition,
Okay?
city administrator, okay? It's not Lee's last and my first, we're doing a transition meeting.
Gotcha.
Jim's going to talk, I'm going to applaud.
Yeah. But the things that came up in just conversation, Mayor, with you and others, there were, you wanted to add a proclamation recognizing February's Black History Month.
Yes.
And I think a proclamation regarding 13C Lake Day.
Yes.
And I think under 12 commission reports, there was requesting the commission to make a formal appointment to the Volusia TPO and formal appointment to the Boys and Girls Club.
Yes.
Okay. Those are the suggested amendments and changes.
What was
And
the last number?
pardon?
The last number you just said for the boys and girls?
That was under 13, the commissioner comments. 12. Number 12, commission reports.
Thank you.
And I think Mayor also, once you get through the audit, you wanted to maybe have the Melissa Park discussion moved up.
Yes, we want the public is here, and so they don't have to labor through our whole entire meeting. Hopefully we can get that on the table. If there's any objections, where do you want to move to? Where do we have it?
The recommendation is after the audit report. Go ahead and get the audit report.
After the auditor?
The 2023 annual audit. Yeah, move the Melissa Park there. And
Okay.
then we'll continue.
Excuse me. Oh, there it is. I got it. Thank you. Okay. Thank you. Sorry about that. So we made the change. 12. After the commission reports, Melissa Park. Melissa Park, we moved to what? 6B. To 6B?
Yes, sir.
Thank you. Okay. We're all, housekeeping is done. Approval of the minutes, of preview minutes. Do you have any motion?
Make a motion to accept the minutes.
Motion by Commissioner Bishop to accept the motion. Is there a second? And no second? Okay. So we will go over the minutes.
I'll second.
Oh,
Sorry.
you have a second? I'm
Yes,
sorry.
I was trying to look through my notes.
Okay. We have a second by Commissioner Rutledge. We have a vote. Zone 1,
Yes.
Zone 2,
No.
Zone 3,
No.
Zone 4.
Yes.
I vote yes. We have a presentation to the commission. We just had our finance report. Now we're going to speak. I have our auditor, and I must apologize. I thought she was someone else. Would you come up and state your name? Have that microphone over there. It's fine.
Good evening. My
Is
name
that
is
on?
push the Good evening.
Turn it up.
Good evening.
I don't see a light on it, you know? You got it.
Good evening.
Yeah.
My name is Tammy Campbell, and I'm the audit partner with McDermott Davis, here to present the results of the 2023 annual audit. The city received unmodified opinions on the governmental funds and the pension fund. The city does have a qualified opinion on the government-wide statements and the water utility fund, and that is just due to the city's decision not to implement a governmental accounting standard related to OPEB. Other than that exclusion, everything else looked good. We're just required then to present a qualified opinion because you didn't follow that one standard. And that just adds an additional liability. It's an actuarial liability. That's one of those requirements, but the city made a decision a couple of years ago that it wasn't worth getting an actuarial report just for that one number in the reports. There were no new accounting standards adopted during the current year that had any significant impact on the city. Overall, the government-wide statements had a slight increase in liabilities, and that was due primarily to the pension liabilities related to the FRS pension plan. Revenues did decrease about 1.5 million, and that's due to 2022. You recognized your remaining ARPA funds, and that's not a recurring revenue source. So that was an increase in revenue in 22. That's not a recurring source for 23. The general fund balance decreased 160,000. However, unassigned fund balance, which is the amount the city has their discretion on spending, was 840,000, or about 24% of governmental expenditures. And that's right in line with best practices as far as your unrestricted fund balance. The utility fund had operating income of 116,000, meaning that the charges to users were sufficient to cover the operating costs during the year. Overall, the city was in compliance with the laws and regulations we tested as part of our audit. And there were no current or prior year management comments. Those are areas of improvement or internal control issues, and nothing was found this year or in the previous year. Our significant estimates during the audit were the allowance for doubtful accounts, depreciation expense, and the allocations of the pension FRS balances. And those are the same as they were in previous years. In that separate letter, we also identify some significant risks. And these are just items that we're required to consider as part of our audit procedures. Management override, there's always a risk that management could go outside of your adopted internal control procedures, as well as revenue recognition. Are you recognizing revenue accordingly? And as part of our audit testing, we didn't identify any issues or concerns with those areas. So our testing came out clean as far as those concerns. So there were no issues control-wise related to that. And if there are any questions, I'd be more than happy to address those.
Any questions? Yeah. Anything else you got to add?
Nothing that I can think of.
Have you spoken to, I'm sure you have spoken to our new city administrator?
Yes, I've actually worked with him at a previous city.
Okay, well, I think you guys are on a good start, man. Thank you so much again.
Thank
Appreciate
you.
it. Yes, Jeff, Zach?
Mr. Mayor, if I may just highlight a couple comments from, we have a PowerPoint in the agenda. Tammy hit the majority of the highlights from the audit. They just want to quickly point out a couple additional items. Again, I think it's in the agenda packet. There are some printed copies on the piano over there. But just to quickly highlight a couple things related to the decrease in fund balance in the general fund. That $170,000 pretty much aligned exactly with the subsidy that we had for the garbage in the current year, where in the budget we had said that we were going to basically utilize ARPA funds to cover the shortfall in the solid waste garbage charges versus the increase in the waste grow contract. So just to note that that's pretty much dollar for dollar that difference. If you take out that subsidy, the general fund would have been almost exactly flat year over year. So they just want to highlight that for the record. Our ARPA fund balance, about $805,000 left in that committed bucket of money. Just to highlight that is something available still for the city going forward. We have not yet earmarked that for any uses in the current fiscal year. And then the other item I wanted to touch on quickly related to pensions, and this is really just to make you all aware of something that we will be discussing, I'm sure, during the budget process. But talking about being nimble for changes, other factors, and so forth, over at least the 9 years that I've ever seen, in years prior, I think, the police pension plan has been able to rely on the funding from the state, because insurance premium tax dollars that are paid generally on homeowners associations bills, or not homeowners insurance bills, those get passed through to local pension plans, and that funding has historically been more than enough to cover the required contributions, even with a little bit of an excess into that plan. When we received the current valuation a couple of weeks ago, they did have kind of a major shift with increasing the contribution rates to a level that substantially exceeds that state money going forward. In the current fiscal year, the majority of that is going to be covered by the state excess contributions from prior years, basically that carryover funding. But going forward, based on the current estimates from the actuary, we could be looking at an additional $100,000 of required contributions in fiscal year 25 from the employer side for the police pension plan. That is in excess of what the state money currently is. So just wanted to highlight that as something that, again, we will be talking about. But if there's any questions, in the meantime, please feel free to reach out, because that is a it's definitely had some shock value on it, seeing the report and seeing those projected numbers going forward.
Does ARPA have a sunset to it? Does that money have to spend by a specific time?
So there are rules over that. The city being under $10 million, we met the threshold to utilize what was called the standard allowance. So we effectively have met all federal rules and guidelines to earn that money. What we did, though, is we met all of the rules effectively on paper, but we still wanted to have the internal accountability and transparency over the use of those funds. So a couple of years ago, the commission did adopt a policy to basically put those into that separate line item in committed fund balance, so it shows up as committed for ARPA transition. Effectively, it's like the commission has restricted those funds so that nothing can be used from that bucket of money without commission approval. So all federal timelines have been met. This effectively is unrestricted general fund money that we identified as related to the impact from ARPA that will have to be utilized only based on commission approval.
Thank you.
Did we not spend, we didn't spend any ARPA funds on Melissa Park?
No.
On what?
Melissa Park, we didn't spend any ARPA.
Did we have any ECHO money that was supposed to be spent for Melissa Park?
No, CDBG money.
CDG money? We got all that we're supposed to get, or is it anything outstanding?
Phase one, which is the playground, has been paid for by CDBG. Let me correct that. They have made their contribution of $50,000 toward that project.
Okay. Is there any more information on the basketball court? Is that part of that fund?
The timing for the phase two, the second $50,000 CDBG grant, we were informed by CDBG. A little background: CDBG requires those funds to be spent for 12 months. Because of the delay in doing the playground, they would not extend the second $50,000 for the remaining portions of the work that we had already agreed to with Melissa. So we're going after a new grant for them for that. Meantime, they would allow us to transfer the money to Kicklighter. So Kicklighter now, instead of having a $50,000 CDBG allotment, a $100,000 CDBG allotment.
So you're saying that $50,000 that was dedicated for Melissa Park did not get spent in a timely fashion, so that money is no longer going for Melissa?
For phase 2.
For phase 2?
Right, phase 1 was paid.
Okay, so we'll have to generate the funds from where to get that phase 2?
Will go to CDBG. It's an annual allotment. So the next allotment will come from CDBG for Melissa. At least it's up to you, but that's the recommendation I would make if I would be here, which I will not be here.
Thank you. Question?
Outgoing CA. I have a question. Can you tell me why we didn't utilize that additional $50,000 for Melissa Park in a
Because-
timely fashion?
Our intent was to do that, but we had a delay in the playground, if you recall. They sent the wrong material, there was delay in construction, and we did not have the money to match it. CDBG is not a grant just by itself. It requires an additional $50,000 or equal amount from the city, and we didn't have the money to do that, so.
Okay, I understand that, but I'm just wondering why we didn't get phase 2 or the basketball court done in a timely manner.
Because they didn't get the park done in time.
Yeah,
And let me, why? Because we didn't have a bond on that $400,000 job. We did not have a bond on that job, right?
correct.
Had we had a bond, they would have had to pay us for not coming in on time with that project, right?
Well, I'm not sure the word bond is one you're thinking of. We have bid bonds which say basically you will live with the bid. If you
Well,
bid
usually when they're doing a job like that, they give you give them a time
a
frame.
performance bond.
Right,
Correct.
a
Yeah.
performance bond.
Yeah, and we did not require that because quite frankly, that cost is added into the bid. We're paying for our own bond.
In this case, it would have probably saved our butts.
Well, we didn't lose anything. The
$50,000.
$50,000 went to Kicklighter and we'll get a new $50,000 for phase 2.
In a year, right?
Well, the money is applied for just about now, as a matter of fact. And we start the project. It's an annual event that comes up.
We're some newbies up here, so we're catching up, and we've got a new city administrator, so you're gonna hold our hands as we get through this. I appreciate that. And Lee, I thank you. I'll say this in advance before the meeting is over, before they run you out of here. I thank you for all that you've done, and I thank you for being a gentleman in the face of a lot of things that I could not have dealt with, but I appreciate you for what you've done, what you meant to the city.
Thank you.
Moving right along. To the audit, let's accept the bills. Is there any comments or any responses to the bills? Oh, and I'm sorry, I didn't have it. Melissa Park. Let's deal with the Melissa Park piece.
The ribbon thing. That's what.
Melissa Park, the playground was completed, but it had not been inspected. And though it looks beautiful, and of course, kids don't think about being safe, they just want to have a good time. And in some instances where the padlock was put on the gate, kids were hoisted over the fence, and they were playing in the playground. I had a couple reports from neighbors who live in the area and saw the kids over there. So we went and put signs up, because the city would be liable if somebody got over that fence and got hurt without it having an inspection report. So that is where we are now. The report, is it due yet? Is it finished yet? The completion?
No.
Okay, so,
But it's soon.
all right, so,
It's soon enough, we wanted to approach the commission on what sort of ribbon cutting event would you like to hold, get some possible dates. It'll be into March, obviously. But it's imminent, but it's not exactly there yet. It has to be the final checkoffs, and you're absolutely right, Mr. Mayor. The liability now is with the contractor, and the contractor would not appreciate people going into the park because they're the ones responsible for it. So we make every effort to keep it blocked off.
okay. Thank you. I think this is important too, because like I said, kids see a playground, they want to play. Adults look at a liability and we don't want to pay. They want to play, we don't want to pay. So we can make that happy medium. So the question is to have an opening for the playground as opposed to the park. I know the basketball court was something that was also put in the process, but from what I understand, that the basketball court itself would take at least a year for it to be completed in a fashion that would be, I guess, basketball ready. If there's anybody that has any comments about that from the board?
So the basketball court, based on obviously the 50,000 that we didn't get in on time, I went out and took a look at it the other day, and quite frankly, that looks a bit dangerous. Right? You know, a kid could be playing basketball, they could fall over, trip on the cracked asphalt or whatever's out there, turf, whatever they're using. Are we gonna have to not let the kids play basketball due to some dangerous event that could occur, or just open it all up?
It is cracked, it has been cracked as long as I've been here, and I'm sure many years before that.
20 years.
It's been like 20 years.
The one thing too.
Okay, 10 instead of 20. It feels like 20 years.
I don't want to bore you with my standard speech on CDBG funds, but they're almost, I will say to you, almost not worth it. You have to spend as much money administering them and going through the hoops as you almost receive in terms of benefit. One of the requirements of CDBG, it has to be competitively bid. We've had a couple of cost estimates to get a cost range of what it would take. We have two different methods for replacing that particular facility. They're both in the neighborhood of $25,000. But again, you have to design them in engineering standards. It can't just be we put out a thing and say, okay, we're going to do it this way or that way. You've got to go through engineering designs. You have to have then competitively bid. All of that process has to be approved by the CDBG people. And it's just hoop after hoop after hoop. Everybody does it. It's not something we can't do. We can do it all the time. But it does take more time than people could possibly manage just to replace a basketball court.
Do we have a date on when the inspection on the playground is going to be done?
It should be done remainder of this month. It should be done within the month. I mean, before March 1st, I'm trying to say.
Okay.
Yeah.
So then we could probably have the ribbon cutting ceremony on the 2nd.
Of March?
On the March 2nd, isn't that a Saturday?
I really don't know, is it? That would be fine.
I think in trying to keep up with the pace of things, I think that was our city clerk and some community individuals. They came up with the second because they wanted to contribute to it. I do understand that there was an issue about the basketball court as being part of the initial program, and the basketball court not being part of the opening up for the ribbon. So for the community, I see the community members that have called me about it. This phase of it is to get the opening of the playground. We are still working on getting the basketball court. It's still in process, still processing, and it hasn't gone by the wayside. And I think with individuals that I've spoken to that are keenly aware of how this process works, better than even me, that I would lean to whatever information that they can have, they can share with our city administrator so that we can get this project done. But if you're kind of close, you're getting it close. You're saying March 2nd, Saturday would be a close enough date with where we are now? Because you're going to be gone, so it's going to be...
Oh, that's true. I think it's a great time.
Yeah, but after you hang out,
No, I will double check tomorrow, but I'm almost positive that would be a good time.
Okay.
You know, a thought did occur to me, Mr. Mayor, because you had mentioned in discussions in the office that you're familiar with a major basketball facility, a company, supply company that does those type things for.
Well, I had somebody come to look at the court, and they also have installed NBA players' basketball courts in their homes. And he shared with me that at that time, Nike was actually underwriting courts around the country, and he was one of the ones that was doing that job. I haven't been able to reach anybody at Nike yet, but you know, we're going to hear a lot of stories. But whatever has the most weight to it, then we'll address it. But we're not putting anything off the table, and especially since we do have, as you said, we'll have the second draw of the CDG money that went to Kick Lighter. So if we've got $50,000, one of the things that was spoken about the park, when that basketball court was put in, I don't know how many years ago, there's some people in the back that might know it because they were around. Cody must have played on that court, but that court was pretty much laid out, maybe not in the best drainage because the water can collect on the court, and I think that one of the individuals that I spoke to was more interested in pitching the court so that the water does not stand on the court to create even more havoc to it. But that's something down the road, please. But do we need to have a motion about this ribbon cutting date? And then,
There's 2 blue cards.
I'm sorry?
There's 2 blue cards.
Oh,
I'm sorry. Before we do any vote, I have 2 cards here that want to speak on this particular item. I see Nancy Weary on top, and then Kelly, you're behind.
Nancy Weary, 435 West Delaware. I worked on the renovation for Melissa Park for almost 4 years. And in the very beginning, the only thing the community really wanted right up front was the basketball court. I believe you should hold off on the playground ribbon cutting until the basketball court is complete. We have received bids. I don't believe we're going to be available, or CDBG grants are going to be available for Melissa Park because they are based on income, and with the growth down Ohio, I don't believe they will qualify for those grants anymore. We've had the bids. I believe that we can afford the $25,000. I think we could probably get it done within the next couple of months and have a really nice ribbon cutting for the community, and they deserve that. I believe they deserve that. I personally don't have a problem if the clearance comes in and they open up the playground for the kids to play on until a proper ribbon cutting and the basketball court is done. That's my thought on it.
Kelly Fresca?
Hello. Is this on? Hello. Nope, it's not. My name is Kelly Frasca, 616 John Street. I wanted to talk about our ribbon cutting. Nancy pretty much covered the base of it. I have no problem with the park being open, but I do think that the ribbon cutting should be held until we complete the rest of phase 1, which was the basketball court. As the commission asked for the community input, the community came back with the input if they want a basketball court first and foremost. Also, they want the playground. Now, the only thing that was put forth was the playground. And we still have the basketball court. You said basketball court was around 25,000? So let me ask, how much of the 5K funds have gone towards Melissa Park?
All of the 5K funds are earmarked. They're not in a separate fund, but they're earmarked for Parks and Recreation. And that was the last year, as you know, was $14,000 some dollars.
Yes, and the year prior to, which was also for Melissa Park, was $9,631.40. Was those funds used in Melissa Park? Because if not, we have $23,766.30 towards that basketball court.
The funding goes into the Parks and Recreation account. It's not earmarked for any particular activity within Parks and Recreation.
So
That's up to the commission to designate.
So I don't want to give a direct question, but if there seems to be funds in our Parks and Recreation Fund with the amount of $23,766.30 that could be earmarked and used towards that basketball court. All of our participants in these races have been under the impression since day one that all these the program that we have for, the goal with 5K has been for our parks and playgrounds. Once Blake Park was completed with phase 1, we moved on to phase 2. And we're not completed with we moved on to phase 1 over at Melissa Park. We have not moved on with phase 2 for Blake Park, but we moved on to phase 1 for Melissa Park. The playground was only part of phase 1. The other part of phase 1 was the basketball court, which the community wanted. And if I'm wrong, I hope someone can come up from the community and correct me, but that was what was asked for to come forth. So I think the playground should be, kids should be able to use it once the inspection is complete. I think that we can hold off on the ribbon cutting so we can complete phase 1 with the basketball court, since we have funds into our Parks and Recreation funding that cover it through the 5K.
Yes.
Thank
thank you. Sharon Johnson.
Good evening, Ms. My name is Sharon Johnson, 285 Church Street, Lake Helen, Florida. I've lived here all my life since I was 6. I'm 60 years old. It is not true that the black neighborhood wanted the basketball court first. First of all, I was never asked that. Nobody polled me to say what we wanted. But I do know for a fact that the people that I asked that live in that section of the neighborhood, mainly black people, wanted that equipment fixed. Melissa Park's equipment was over 67 years old. I raised my children on that because I didn't want to walk all the way down the street to Lake Park. That's a 2-mile walk, and I didn't have a car. We need that. The playground equipment is beautiful and colorful, and the children want to get on it. I don't think that we should hold the playground hostage because you have to lay a basketball court, which is going to take time. Probably we're looking at July to September. I'm telling you the truth, it takes a while to get that engineering done and done correctly so that it just is not what we have right now. I would like to see the children playing on the park. I want the park open. I think that we deserve it. We have little children around here that want to play on the equipment, and they're going to go play on it whether you want them to or not. They're still going to get over that fence. So Lake Helen, get over yourself, get that park open, and they don't care about, they've been playing on that basketball court. I mean, I'm 60. I fell and scraped knees, so what? Get that park open and let those little kids play. That's the point of it. It's for the children. It's not for the adults to look at it and parade and grandstand. Get the park open so that the children can play on it. Get this process, cut the red tape, the insurance, whatever it takes, the inspection, get it done before somebody lifts their children over that fence and somebody gets hurt, and then Lake Helen's going to be on the news and you're going to lose a little bit more coins trying to figure that out. We can deal with the basketball court the way it is. It's been that way for years.
I just want to thank you. The intent is to get the playground open safely, and the playground is not going to be tied to the basketball court being open. In other words, the playground can be open with the basketball court being under construction, and because if it need be, it's not tied to the basketball court. I need to just put that. Right now, what's restraining the court to be the playground to be open is not having an inspection. The contractor that built it, his bond is now protecting that park for his liability purposes, not for ours. So once he can transfer it back over to us, he wasn't happy to do that. Ms. Paulette Smith?
Mr. Mayor, may I speak after Paulette? Thank you.
Paulette Smith, 840 West Sticklighter Road, Lake Helen. I understand Sharon said that nobody asked her whether or not we wanted a basketball court or a playground. We had workshops prior to them starting the playground. 3-4 years ago, we had meetings, we had community meetings. When there was naming the pavilion after Mr. Henry White's, they had a meeting. At the time, Vernon was a commissioner, and the conversation came up about the basketball court, that they needed a new basketball court. That was before the playground was brought into place. What we talked about at that meeting was the playground equipment needed to be redone. That was before Ricky left. We had a meeting. Ricky said he was going to refurbish this and refurbish that. It was going to get the merry-go-round and little ducks and stuff redone. And the basketball court was the biggest issue because when they first did the CBG grant, it was supposed to be for the basketball court. That was the first thing we were supposed to have done. When you're using CBG grants, you got to do what you say you're gonna do, or it's gonna come back to bite you. And until we as a city start doing what we're supposed to do with those grants, we're gonna be in the trouble we're in now with the gym. Until we start doing what we're supposed to do, it's gonna keep coming back at us. So we gotta start somewhere. And you can go ahead and open the playground. I don't have a problem with that. I just don't want them to use the money and we never get a basketball court. I stayed to city commissioner meetings to 11, 12 o'clock at night, fussing about the park by myself, besides the people that would be to the meetings. It don't bother me because you know what? I ain't got no babies. My baby's 34 years old. But we got to take charge. If we want something, we can't just be satisfied for anything they give us. If they tell you they're gonna give you this, we want it. We worked hard. And if we settle for anything, they're gonna give you anything. So if you don't stay behind them for what they say they're gonna do, or if you're gonna get a grant for this, you gotta do what you say you're gonna do. And if we don't, we're going to be in the same shape we're in now. We're going to be beating up.
Kelly, you just want to have something else to say before I get to the
Yes.
project here?
Thank you, Paulette. She, doesn't work. Thank you, Paulette. She actually said a lot of what I was going to say. I just want to be clear that I had no intentions on nothing I had said was to stop the opening of the park. It was to put a pause on the ribbon cutting because that way we have that basketball court still right up in front that we need to complete, which was part of what we were doing as far as renovations. That was part of phase 1. And I still stand here and I agree with that we need to pause that so that way we complete what we said we were going to complete, which was phase 1. And when the community came out to those meetings, they asked for a fixed basketball court and a playground that the children can play on. So,
Thank you.
thank you.
Roger, let's have your say.
A couple years before I became commissioner, the community was talking about the poor condition of the playground equipment at Melissa Park. And there was talk about the equipment being refurbished, there was talk about replacing some of the equipment. And the park committee at that time came up with a program to start replacing the park equipment, the playground equipment, with a small, about 1/4 the size of what we put in as the playground equipment. As the park committee changed people over the time, workshops were held and everything, and the people were asked more on what they wanted to have done at Melissa Park, and it came out with the playground, the basketball court, a larger meeting hall, some trails, a picnic area, and a few other things, you know, larger parking area and stuff like that. And a field, basically, also to play games in. We were able, excuse me, when it's pollen season, so my throat's been getting kind of clogged up once in a while. We ended up, after discussion and everything, figuring we start from the front and work our way back. So the front was where the playground was going to go, and we voted to go with a good company, one of the top-rated companies, to get the playground equipment. I believe it's from one of the Scandinavian countries, somewhere up there. And it was put in with the subsurface to protect the kids that fall, and it had to be accessible for handicapped children also. So that's what we got. And when it was all done, it was agreed that it would be done in 3 or 4 phases. Phase 1 was a playground, phase 2 was a basketball court, phase 3 was a picnic area or pavilion. It was left up because it might change in the future. And phase 4 was the trails and everything else. When, now that the playground is done, the only thing that's really holding up now is the final inspection of it to release it to the city. And I think once that's done, we should go ahead and have the ribbon cutting ceremony on that section of it and get it opened up and let the people enjoy it. Let them start using the park more often and creating a better atmosphere for the community. And like Mr. Abbott said, we're going to have to go through engineering. Information is going to have to go out. We have to go out for bids on the basketball court. We have to decide what size we want. Do we want elementary, middle school, high school, or a pro basketball court? They all have different sizes involved in them. So that's another issue that has to be done. How big of a basketball court do you want? And those things have to be resolved before things can go out for bid. And hopefully we're going to have some workshops in the future to get all this stuff readdressed.
Thank you.
Yeah, this is just going to be for a point of discussion and for the record. Prior to me becoming a commissioner, but after I qualified, I attended a meeting. Ms. Paulette was there, her husband was there. There actually were 2 commissioners there that stayed and was making different comments to each other. And actually that evening, there was another commissioner that showed up and then left because there were 3 commissioners there. And what came out of that meeting was that the basketball court and the playground itself appeared to be phase 1. It was not split up. Currently, what we have now is a playground. And the way I see it, that's for the younger children. And that's great. They need a place to play. But we don't have anything for the middle, junior high, and high school kids to get out there and play basketball. For the life of me, I don't know how it all got split up, other than now that I kind of recognize that we weren't spending the money in a timely manner. For the record, I don't see any reason to have a ribbon cutting till it's completed, and I don't see why we can't allocate monies from another account and get started on it. It may take a few months, like Commissioner Eckert said. The kids can still go play on, I guess, the equipment that's out there for elementary kids, which again I said is great. But we've got to look at the entire community and what they wanted. And that night I was there was no split in any phase whatsoever. I don't know what happened in the commission meeting, but I know what happened that night. So that's for the record.
Okay.
Yeah, when it came from the commission meeting, that's when it got split into the separate phases, and the playground was taken, the basketball court was taken out of phase one.
Is that Nancy?
Thank you. Nancy Weary, I'd like to inform everyone, if you don't know, we have spent tens and thousands of dollars in engineering. These plans have already been engineered. The basketball court has been engineered, re-engineered, bid, rebid, and bid again. It is there. I want you, if you have not been by, I encourage everyone to go by and look at the new playground. It is beautiful. It is absolutely beautiful. And you look at it and your eye just goes right to the side, and this is this broken up basketball court. If you really want a ribbon cutting, do it right. And we can have this basketball court done in 2 months and have a fabulous spring ribbon cutting. Absolutely fabulous. It will look good. It will be loved by everybody in the community. Let's do it right if we're going to do it. It's not that much money. Ms. Frasca has helped raise the money. It's there. Let's do it right.
Is it against the law to have 2 ribbon cuttings?
No, it's not against the law. I would just say that my involvement with Melissa Park goes back more than 14 years. When I say my involvement with it, it means that when Melissa Park, how many people here know who Melissa was? Right? So the community back there knew Melissa. So they didn't just know the name. But I was on the planning board and on Parks and Rec, and on this commission, I would notice that each time we have our budget, we have allocation for parks, and at the end of the year, Melissa was never on that budget. And I used to keep raising the issue. It appears that Melissa Park is subsidizing all of the other parks. And because of that, I used to make that known every single meeting. It wasn't until Rick Mullins came to me one time and said, Vernon, if you give me an opportunity, I'll get your park fixed. In the meantime, property became available on an auction. And I was the commissioner at that time. It was in my particular zone. So the city authorized me to bid on the property. So the property right next door to where the playground, where the what is now the pavilion, I bought that at auction. Prior to that, there were 3 buildings that were on the other side of that property, and they were derelict. People had abandoned the buildings, and they were basically an eyesore. And as a result, we took at that time, Chief Walker was the police chief, and we took a police chief, fire marshal, and someone from DuPower. We went around to, I think it was 6 buildings, and we were able to get them demolished because they were condemned. The 3 buildings that were right next to, across the street from Gloria White's, those 3 buildings were abandoned. And after we got them torn down, the county couldn't sell them at tax auction. So the taxes, basically the property went back to the county. The county then turned around and donated the property to the city because nobody wanted it. They said, y'all got a park right next door to it. So now we got property, and then Rick Mullins, as true to his word, there was no outdoor bathroom. Imagine that. everybody's all concerned about this park, but the kids would have to go up there and not have a place to use the bathroom until we got something done. When we started fixing up that park, the bathroom that had to be put on the outside, we found out the reason that we couldn't do it because it did not have a septic tank, it didn't have a drain field, so we had to build one. We had to put a new roof on. We had to repair the interior of the building that was for over years and years and years. That had a stove in there that shouldn't have been in there. We got rid of the stove. So, I'm sorry, I retired 3 years ago before this became an issue, and I've worked to see if that park could get to where it was, where it is now. The other thing that, what was on Ricky's agenda was that he wanted to put a soccer field up there. Because now we had enough room that we could probably use it as a soccer field. Everyone knows the story about Travis Martin building a house on the wrong side of the road and happened to be 60 feet over into the city property. And rather than having to tear down the house, we sold him a piece of the property, and he in turn gave us property that was probably equal to or more than. In the back of the property, there's a railroad track. And those railroad tracks are 10 feet. The only thing that they can use the railroad track for, or one of the things that they use the railroad track for, is a walk path, a jogging path. These are things that grew out of an abandoned, or I should say, underserved, disregarded. People were always not getting heard. And so now, and I think it was because of Kelly that we had the food trucks. And the food trucks used to be in Blake Park. But when they began to rebuild the playground in Blake Park, they had no place to go.
It was actually Nancy's idea to bring it.
Nancy, I'm sorry. Well, I remember you because you had the food trucks. So what happened is, as a result of that, they said, well, why not Blake Park? Melissa Park. One of the things I can tell you I've heard more than once in a lifetime that I can care to count while I was on the Parks and Rec, when I say Melissa Park, the next question is, where is Melissa Park? Where is Melissa Park? Everybody in our community knew where it was, but now became fashion to now be up in Melissa Park. I'm glad that we're on one accord. Believe me, these meetings should be all on one accord. Because whatever's going to happen for the benefit of the children, I'm all for it. The last thing that happened with that park that I remember, that playground, that merry-go-round, because a film company wanted to shoot a movie that required a ring-around playground. They searched all over Florida. Guess what? We were the only park in the state that had a merry-go-round that I think they shot for 2 days. It's a historical piece of property. So that goes back 60 years. I'm glad that we're having this discussion, especially on Black History Month. This is a park that it means something to this community. And the community that has been sitting back and seeing time after time after time, getting pushed back, pushed to the back, come to a meeting. And the reason that I asked this to be put at the front of the meeting, because I can tell you how many times that I was in a meeting over in the police station and residents that had issues, those residents' issues would push back to 11, 12. And some of these guys went to work at 6 o'clock in the morning, so they would walk out. So now that at least having the people that I see here now, these are people who were the same people that made sure that whatever we were going to do in our park, and we consider it our park. I mean, you'll say this is all your community, but this is our park. We the ones that had the opportunity to utilize it, and we're glad that we're sharing it. But so it's now up to this commission to do their job and make sure that funds that are available that can do the job and do the work that will give everybody the enjoyment of that park. And we want people to come into our neighborhood. We don't want us to be ostracized One of the nicknames they used to call our side of town, they used to call it Black Town. It's now Lake Helen. So I'd rather be known as Lake Helen. So at this point, I think if there's a motion to, any more discussion on this, do you need to have, okay.
Yeah, I think there's one more blue card as well.
Oh yes, it just came up, Tremaine Johnson.
No.
You guys doing? I'm doing great. How you doing? My name is Tremaine Johnson. I live at 285 Church Street, Lake Helen. I got out the Army in 2003, 2005, I got here to Lake Helen. I'm from Connecticut and seen a lot of different things go around, how things move when things need to be done in different communities. And coming here, leaving the military and coming here in 2005, I heard a lot of different conversations about what things gonna get done and how they're gonna get done, but when it actually came down to getting it done, it seems like it was a lot of filibuster, different things going on, especially at Melissa Park. It was like a hole in the wall that nobody really knew, or nobody cared to truly address. On a day, talk about it today, by the weekend, nobody's talking about it again. Unless you want to try something new, like we had at one time, since 2005, in June, it'll be 20 years I've been here. One time we had the trucks that come out there, the food trucks.
For 1 year, yeah.
For 1 year, we had the food trucks. That's out of 20 years I've been here. First time I seen food trucks come there. I was quite surprised. Looking at the small pavilion, well, not the pavilion, the building, which is shameful to me. As a community park, that building is shameful. You can't have any meetings, you can't have any birthday parties or anything like that. It's shameful. The inside of it here is well outdated. Yeah, it's outdated. It's ridiculous. It's ridiculous. You know, and you have to say it just like that. You know, to put it off and not open up the front part of the park is for the smaller kids, yes, but they've been waiting for a park for a long time. To be put off for a couple more months, yeah, you probably can do that and get it done. They don't have to wait anymore. They need to play on the park right now. And maybe this will light a fire under whatever it needs to happen, or whoever it needs to happen, whoever needs the fire to help bring the basketball court there and to fix that sad building. That's a sad building. It's a shameful building. I've seen many other parks built in the 20 years out here, right down the street right here, when they started building all the new houses, they put a park there. It was not a problem. It did not take 6, 8, 10 months, a year, no. As they were building houses, the park was going up. Next thing you know, a month or two later, the park was made. On the other side, on Casadega side, the park was made. Anytime when something was, it gets done. It gets done. I've been 20 years and it's not done. And to say, well, I don't know, we're gonna try, or if you say that there's some money left, where is the money? When you say that the money was paid to us from land being sold, where is the money? Where's the money? And if you open up the park right now, let the kids play in, yeah, the fire is gonna be lit. Because yeah, there is a hazard right there for the kids. And by it being a hazard, maybe it's gonna put a fire to get it done so they can play on the basketball court and we can move forward into making the building and the whole park a better place for the whole community. It's a big park, it's a nice place, you know, it has lots of room to do many different things. But even to the road itself going up and down there, it's terrible. It's terrible. Many people have many professions. They live right here in Lake Helen. They have their own private businesses. You mean to tell me that we couldn't get some loads of dirt to make the road safe? The road is not even safe to go up there. It doesn't cost that much. I had gravel put in my backyard. It cost like $250 to get the whole load. You got many people who have 5-ton trucks right now. They live right here in Lake Helen. You got many businesses right here. You mean collectively, as a community, we can't get this done? And I'm retired Army, and if anybody needs my help, I'm willing to volunteer my hands to go out there and help put it together. My name is Tremaine Johnson. I live at 285 Church Street.
Thank you, Tremaine.
I'm not about talk. Let's get it done.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you, everyone that has brought up some good points. All of the feedback that I have received about this project is that the community wants the park to be opened, and they want the ribbon cutting delayed until after the basketball court. So at this point, I think that's the best route to travel. And I don't think we should continue to kick this project down the road. It's been going on since I've been on the commission for 3 years, and as we've heard input from the community, 20 years. We've been having a basketball court that is 10 years in disrepair. That's disgraceful. We need to just get this project done. We have ARPA funds. We have the funding that has been provided to us from the 5K. I don't see any reason why we should continue to drag our feet and wait until next year and re-engineer this project over and over and over again. We're beating this thing to death. Let us start the project and get it done for the community and do what they want.
I'm going to make a motion that actually covers 2 parks, and I'll explain after I make the motion and if somebody seconds it. I make a motion, we go ahead and go out for bids to have 2 basketball courts installed, one at Melissa Park and one at Blake Park. And if funds are needed until we hear from the CBT grant, we can use the ARPA funds to help supplement it.
Second.
Yes, expand it.
The reason why I added Blake Park, because we also got a report that that one is in disrepair because of the tree roots and everything. And it's made out of asphalt, it's not made out of concrete. So we need to have a proper basketball court put into Blake Park
That
also.
one gets used a lot too, so it needs repairs.
Any comment?
No, I just said.
Okay, we have a motion.
Second, right?
Would you clarify that motion again, Martin? Sorry, I gotta repeat it.
That we put in 2 basketball, that we go out for bid for 2 basketball courts, one for Melissa Park, one for Blake Park, and until the CBG grants get approved, that the costs get covered with the ARPA funds.
But now we're not addressing the ribbon cutting of Melissa Park. That was what it
That was
was.
the,
One thing at a time.
Okay.
do we have a second?
Yeah,
Yes.
you second.
All right, we have a
Motion to move forward to provide funds to produce or repair 2 basketball courts, one at Blake Park, one at Melissa Park. We have a second.
Yes, Heather.
Yes, a second by Heather Rutledge, Commissioner Rutledge. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Nay, any opposed? None? So moved.
Wait, these got something to say.
Well, just for clarification for the staff, if we put an allocation of $60,000 for the 2, $30,000 each, that should be more than sufficient. Concrete types, money to come out of ARPA, we can start immediately on the engineering necessary to do it. So if that's, I gather that was included in it, Roger. I thought I heard it. I wasn't
As soon as it can get started.
And I would even suggest, going out on the limb, that we have construction companies, haulers, concrete people that could help.
And I would anticipate my successor, to use local contractors who are extremely good, and they're county contracts, so they're bid work, and so we don't have to worry about going through the bidding process. So that the only thing that will hold them up is simply their backlog, but that'll work through itself very nicely. So we can do that fairly quickly. But I have to make sure we have clarification on types of material, max or not to exceed. That should be sufficient.
I would turn that over to Rick and his recommendation on what type of material to make them out of.
I just had one suggestion, that we move the basketball court. It was always intended to move the basketball court in Blake Park between the tennis courts and the playground now, to get it out of the way near the road, because it's so close to the road right now, and open that up for parking or a future band shell or something. That'd be the only recommendation that I wanted to get in there too. So we didn't do the engineering over there, we do it over there.
Gotcha. Okay. And also keep in mind, for the Blake Park, it's on our agenda, it's the car show, which is always in April.
Exactly. Now I'll open that part up there and leave the basketball court, and that'll be your whole playground area, where we have availability for lights for it too, because we have all the power right there.
Gotcha.
It'll give us the whole ability. That was what I designed it for years ago, to have it, everything in one area. That way we could do everything right there.
Thank you. We did have a second and a motion and a vote.
Yes.
Vote, okay, so move.
You
have one more?
That was in the original plan for Blake Park in phase 2, and that's where we'd be reaching both.
So we're coming full circle now.
Yes.
Took it a while to get here, but we're here now.
Yep.
I just got one thing. Also, there's a contractor who lives in Lake Helen. His name is Bill Cherry, and he said that he's available to draw any plans to extenuate and to rebuild the not the pavilion, but the building. He's a contractor.
The only other thing that I would ask, and if it's okay with the staff, if any of the citizens have an idea or would like input on what size of a basketball court to put out there, please email City Hall, one of the staff members.
It's already engineered. It's already in the plans. It's already been engineered.
Okay. What size?
It's in the plans. I can't tell you off the top of my head.
I also make a motion that we hold off on the ribbon cutting ceremony until after the basketball courts are done. And that after the inspection's done, that the playground be opened up to the public.
That's the second motion.
Your motion is that you were wanting that the
Ribbon cutting ceremony be delayed until after the basketball courts are in, and that the playground be opened up after its inspection.
All right, that's the motion.
I agree with part of it, but
Well,
not the second.
We'll have a discussion. Do we have a second?
Yeah, Heather, second.
Heather, discussion?
I just agree that, yes, let's open the park up, but I still don't see why we can't have a ribbon cutting. We could have 2 ribbon cuttings. It's not a big deal.
Okay.
We can, I just don't think it's the best use of our funds, that's why I voted to thank you.
Okay, so.
I don't think it's going to be that long, but I think we'll have the basketball court done by the end of
Okay, so I'm back to square one. I just wanted to reiterate the fact that the basketball court is not hindering the kids being able to play on the playground. They don't care if it's ribbon, or bow, or string. If we can get them in there, fine. The fact that the playground will be the next move in our progress, that the basketball court has got to be high on its tail. So I'm thinking that we will get the energy that we need to get this done, especially the weather. So we have a motion, we have a second, we have a vote. All in favor? Aye. Any Any opposed? None? So moved. Thank you. Moving right along. So that was number 6, now we're up to number 7. 7 is accepting the bills to be paid. Any comments on the bills?
Unfortunately, I'm not going to be able to vote on this because I could not read the bills paid. There apparently was a problem with the system, the printing, actually even coming through electronically. I don't know if anybody else had that problem, but I just want to point that out.
I don't think, you check with the attorney, I don't think you have an option that you do that at the moment, even though.
Okay, the question is...
What you can do is, you're obligated to vote on anything unless you have a conflict.
Was that one?
Now, what you can do is delay the paid bills to next month when you get a printout so everybody can read it. If everybody had a problem with it, you can do it that way.
Yeah, and
it's not really that important that you all approve the paid bills.
And just for further...
The bills are already paid.
Further clarification, the only time you can't vote on an issue is that if there's a conflict, and if there's a conflict, then you'll have to fill out a form. Is that a form?
Yes.
Okay, it's a conflict form. But any vote that comes to the floor, you either have to say yea or nay.
Yeah, the law requires it.
Yes, I got it. While we're talking about those forms, I noticed that mine is not in this, and according to the thing, a copy of it was supposed to be in the minutes for this meeting. My conflict form that I filled out from the last meeting on the vote, the form's not in here, and it's supposed to be in the...
It's supposed to be incorporated into the minutes somehow. It doesn't say how it needs to be incorporated, but it should be incorporated, so you can attach the form to the minutes.
So it's there, so when we approve next month, the minutes will be in the minutes.
Okay, so then we have a motion on the bill.
I make a motion that we approve the bills paid as presented.
Motion made by Commissioner Rutledge. Going once. Second by Commissioner Bishop. All in favor? All right. Any opposed? One nay? Yes. Yes. 4 to 1. Thank you. I approve. Next thing. Business. Old business. Continued business. The overtime is the request for direction of overtime. During the December meeting, the city administrator and the commission discussed payment of overtime for individuals working through their lunch hours. The overtime payment for this situation was required by fair labor standards. It was not being observed. During the December meeting, staff did not receive clear direction on how to proceed with these payments going forward. Currently, the employees are taking their lunch hours and are not being paid overtime, nor are they receiving any compensation for the additional time as was provided to them since their initial hiring. In short, our city fall staff are not taking lunch, and as a result, by not taking lunch, they were getting an overtime in the middle of the day. It was going on prior to this staff coming here. It may go back as far as the COVID, when everything was closed, and I don't have any information on that. I was not on the board, and this was only picked up by our clerk, Roxanne, and it was brought before the commission, and we did not have a clarified decision on it. We did have assistant administrator was. Do you have any? Did we have solutions or options?
We had a recommendation that we made, and there was discussion, but there was no concurrence or rejection, basically. And again, I would point out to you, this was a fringe benefit that was in place at the time these two individuals were hired, and they were allowed to work through their lunch hour. If you work through your lunch hour, which is perfectly all right, you have to be paid overtime. It is not something that there was a threat that would spread to the rest of the organization. Individuals like this can be treated individually, so we satisfied ourselves that that was not a potential. And the recommendation we made was that these individuals, because they had come on board with a fringe benefit that has now been denied them, that their pay be adjusted on an hourly basis to compensate, that that particular fringe benefit not be allowed for any other individuals, either existing or which will succeed them in the future. That's our recommendation.
Okay. Do I have a motion on that?
No, I have a question.
Yes, sir.
So you told them at the time that they were being hired that this would be part of their pay? Is that what you're saying?
I didn't tell them, but they were told by the people who hired them, yes. Yeah.
So who had the authority to do that?
It was, I don't know that anybody did, quite frankly. It was pre-existing. When you come to work here, you will work through your lunch hour. You'll be paid a half-hour overtime each day, unless.
Well, so of course, anybody with any sense is going to work through their lunch hour because you can snack at your desk. I mean, so this makes no sense to me.
It didn't make any sense to us either. That's why we stopped it.
So,
but the problem is. Oh, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
We stopped it, but now you want to correct the fact that we stopped it. Is that what you're saying?
No, I want to. We had employees who were hired under one pretext that was removed from them in the anticipation of good employee relations. These two individuals we'd like to compensate for that particular fringe benefit, even though it will not apply to anybody else in the future.
A lot of companies would claw this money back because this should have never happened to start with.
Well, you have to pay them.
You have to pay them if they're working, but you don't give them permission to work through their lunch and then say we're going to pay you overtime for that.
Well, once you give them the permission to work through, as the employer, you have to pay them. You can't take it back. We stopped that practice.
But how do you make that a daily rule? Go ahead and work through your lunch.
I didn't make the rule, that's what I'm saying. We agreed that it should not have happened.
Well, that's right, and so it was found and it was stopped, and I think we need to just leave it as it is.
Yes.
Is mine.
Well, you can certainly do that.
I don't know when it started, but I know I reviewed the minutes from late 2020 up until the time that they were hired, and there was nothing in the minutes that authorized any overtime being paid during the lunch hour.
No, well, and the commission did not approve it. It was a fringe benefit created by my predecessor, who I will tell you I did talk to, and she said no, she did not do that. But I've heard other people who worked here at that time said no, she really did. But anyway, that's what happened. You didn't approve of it, I didn't approve of it, the employee who was hired under those circumstances didn't approve it, they just enjoyed it. Now it's been removed, and the question is how do you treat those employees? And you don't have to pay them anything, but in the interest of employee relations, we're recommending you simply, the pay goes up about 20, is it how much? The pay goes up $1.86 an hour and $1.91.
Wow.
The employees have two different.
Has anybody on the staff done a pay study on what that pay should probably be countywide or whatever?
We've not done a comprehensive analysis of what the pay is for these particular types of individuals. Again, I know we have mentioned this before, and I'm not sure if John Marie confused, but we have 4 people in City Hall, so there are no backups to any position. There's one person for permitting, one person for finance, one person for administration, and one person to look at the other 3, I guess.
Most days, anybody could spare 30 minutes to take a lunch. I agree, there are some times during water billing that it might be tough. So you might have a little bit of overtime in there.
I agree.
But a daily basis, oh no.
And we've stopped it for that very reason.
Right.
Another question is, we have stopped it. Do you have any desire to compensate the people because of the fringe benefits they came to the city and enjoyed for several years, but now has been removed from them. That's the issue.
Well, who signed their paychecks?
I'm sorry, what?
Who signed their paychecks?
Their paychecks are automatically signed by me, I guess.
Okay, who approved the paychecks for what they were, the hours that they were getting paid for?
It's multiple employees. It wasn't just these two employees. This practice has gone on for quite a long period.
Who approved their hours
Their direct
that they were
supervisor
getting
at
paid
the
for?
time. Their direct supervisor at the time. Whoever was the supervisor at the time. So it was multiple
Who was the
supervisors.
supervisor of the office personnel?
Dominique.
It would be Dominique. Sometimes Lauren was the supervisor.
Well, I'm sorry, true.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
Lauren was here when I first arrived for 3 weeks, but after that, most of the time it's been Dominique.
So it all comes down because we hired you to run it. Even though we are the ultimate accountabilities for it, it comes down to your office as being our person, administrator for the city, that the error comes from. So,
I'm responsible for everything that happens. Good or
Yes.
bad. Usually,
I guess the question would be asked, who approved the paying the bills? It was the city commission, right?
Right.
Okay, so if we keep spreading this around, everybody in the audience is responsible. We're trying to get let's get this behind us. If it was not for the fact that it was discovered by our city clerk, it might have been continuing. And it has been going on for at least, I don't know how many years. 2 years?
no, I've been here 3 years.
It's been longer than that. It's been longer than that. But well, anyone that was hired was not given, I won't say that they were not, but the fact that there is something here that was noticed that overtime payment in this situation was required by fair labor standards. So it appears that when they got this benefit, it was told that you can't go, you don't have to leave your desk, but because you will stay here, then you will get hour overtime. And that's what it amounted to, an hour overtime a day for 5 days a week. And you do the numbers on that, and half an hour and a half. Right. So we are as a city commission, as a city administrator, and the employees are our lifeblood. Whatever you want to say about what they could have done, should have done, it's still, you want to point the finger, then point the finger to this board, not this particular board, but to the commission. I think our accountant was here, we didn't bring that up to him. I think it was asked of him about it, and he said that it was not an anomaly, it was a reoccurring issue that he thought that we must have known about it. Now, it might be his fault that he didn't look into it. The auditors may not have found it. But let's just keep moving. We can't do anything about this right now. We can't recover the funds from the people who got it. We can't take the money back.
Well, we can, but we're not going to do that. But we do need to decide what we're going to do. We're just going to.
You really can't take the money back because people work during their lunch hour at our request.
And the longer that this grows up,
Because it was under overpay.
Yeah, you had to pay it under the Fair Labor Standards Act. So we are straight with that. The problem is, this policy, this fringe benefit, whatever you call it, was not cleared through the commission. And because of that, it remained at the staff level, and it was just a continuation of when I arrived from what had previously occurred until the clerk noticed it, we stopped it. Now the question is, do you have any sympathy for that fringe benefit being removed for those employees or not? If not, then we just ought to move on. Problem solved.
and one of the options that we may have had, which it had already occurred, is that the cost of living increase that had gone out. There might have been a way to have matched that within that, but we had already given them the cost of living, and that was not something that we could take back. So
no, but you could couple the suggestion of modifying their hourly rate with withholding future cost of livings if you were to award them to everybody, or would normally have awarded these positions. You can hold them back until their particular per hour rate is elevated to the point where they would now be even with the cost of living. You could do that. That was my original suggestion like 2 meetings ago. But,
and then you got staff that has to remember that. That's a
True.
paper nightmare.
True.
And blah, 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 blah.
Well, to put in the record, I guess what I'm understanding you to say is that, and I'll let you speak, is that we can't recoup it, but there are future cost of living increases that are built in. They might be 3, they might be 4, whatever it is. If a cost of living increase could be anticipated to then diminish by whatever we would be trying to reclaim. Correct. Can you explain that in the length that I can understand?
Let me give you my opinion.
Yes.
I don't think that's feasible. Because then, as the commissioner said, you've got to have somebody sit down and figure out what's the cost of living, what was this increase, and you've got to start doing the mathematical formula over a period of a couple of years. And you're not recouping anything because you legally had to pay this money. Nobody got something they didn't work for. It was Fair Labor Standards Act. So they legally earned the money. And I was here at that December meeting during the interview, and you asked that question. And I'm going to be honest. I believe, there's 4 people in that office, and you don't have a lot of longevity and a lot of tenure. And I think they work for a period of time, and they've gotten a pay rate that they budgeted for in their lives just like we all do. And I'm going to agree with Lee. I think the recommendation to adjust the pay, get this behind us, and not worry about nickel and diming a rate down the road, because the commission will determine whether anybody gets a raise. It could be 0 to what have you. And I think that if we get into trying to pull people out and mathematically try to, quote, use the term recoup, I think that's the wrong direction. I think it would be easier to go ahead and make a motion, approve the salaries as recommended by Lee, and the practice is stopped. And I think this will end this, and let's just get a fresh start and get moving.
For clarification, there are only 2 people involved?
Yes.
2, so there are two
positions.
2 positions that would basically be affected by this. It wasn't our clerk, wasn't our city administrator, it was 2 of the lower paid employees that basically carry the city through the day. And so, that being said, are there any motions to consider?
Mayor, if I may, please.
Sure, please.
Okay, respectfully, Mr. Gleason, you said we don't need a nickel and dime, but the cost to do this is $38.68 for one employee and $39.73 for the other employee. So we're looking at an increase of $75,000 to $8,000 over the course of the year. I don't consider that nickel and diming, and also it just seems kind of black and white to me. And maybe I'm oversimplifying the issue, but it doesn't seem that this was a requirement. It seems that this was something that was optional, as overtime seems to be. So the solution that is currently in place seems to make the most sense to me. And maybe I've misunderstood or I'm oversimplifying it, like I said, but it seemed pretty black and white to me that it's optional. We stopped the optional, and let's move forward.
And they were hired at a pay raise.
We only make recommendations. You make the decision. So if you don't want to give them pay change, that's the motion. Okay, but I'm just saying I agree with Lee's recommendation on that. You don't have to agree with your city administrator.
Understood, thank you.
This is an issue that has really bothered me. And I'm probably not going to sound real nice right now, and I'm going to bring up an issue that I had not planned on bringing up. These girls were given this money as a fringe benefit. It was not a fringe benefit, it was for hours worked.
Correct.
Okay, not a fringe benefit.
No, that was my terminology.
Okay, well, wrong terminology. You're the one, and there's other people at this table that know. These girls in this office work really hard, but they're also aware of things that have occurred in this city where someone approved the last deputy clerk to come into the office after she separated herself from the city. She worked 5 hours, which was supposed to be on a training day, 5 hours, and she got paid $200 an hour. Somebody approved that. And then in addition to that, she took a city computer, a device home, and kept it. I don't know if she still even has access. I don't care. But the problem is that we're looking at $1.87 for 2 girls who literally were promised that money. It was not a fringe benefit, it was part of their salary. You work, you get paid. That's my stand on it. Somebody screwed up royally, let's make it right for the employees, because they are. And Heather has used this term before, they're our greatest assets. And right now, if we lost one of them, we're in trouble.
I can tell you what went on with that situation you're talking about. The reason that Dominique came in and worked that Saturday was because the girls that could take her position and that were ready to take her position could not do the water billing.
And
she wound up having to do it is what happened. They couldn't figure it out. She did the water billing, and then the computer went home because she was going to do them a book on how to do it. She never turned that computer on. She brought it back because she got pissed off because somebody went through her personnel records and nothing was redacted, even though her husband works for law enforcement, and that should have never been shown to the person that looked at it. And she got pissed and said, screw you, I'm not doing the notebook. And they paid her, and it was a contract that was made in advance for her to come in there and do water billing for that last cycle.
It was supposed to be in line. That was supposed to be a second cycle for her to come in.
No, she was going.
Right now, we're making accusations, and unless there is a formal complaint, I would suggest that we just move on.
That's right.
Because right now, this is not productive. There's a lot of things that we can be looking at right now. And there was a lot of reasons from what I understand, from what I saw, there's a lot of reasons that the person separated themselves from the city. A lot of reasons. And in some of those instances, I even suggested that they may seek, before I got elected, that they may want to seek some legal redress to deal with situations that they claim to be. A claim is just a claim. All that's in the past, all that's in the wind, I think we just need to move on. That is what I hope we can do with this. And we're still on this, making a decision about a motion for what direction do you want the city to go with this, to fix the issue. Do I have a motion?
I got a question on the calculations that were used to figure out all these figures and everything. You got a half an hour for 5 days a week times 52, and you come up with 130 extra hours at time and a half. Plus all the base components and everything, and then you come down and you're adjusting the current pay by 9.375. Now, was this figure spread over 8 hours, or are you figuring it just on the half an hour? Because you're increasing their hourly rate based on a half an hour, time and a half rate. And that's going to actually get, I believe, give them more than what the original half hour was. So I just saw wondering, what calculations did you use to come up with those figures?
Well, you notice Zach left too early. He's the one who calculated this. I think the attempt was he took the extra money that they made above and beyond the 40 hours a week, and then took that amount that they were paid time and a half, spread that over the 2,080 hours, and that's what it would have been per hour extra to compensate. And I'm not sure that answers your question, but that's how I would interpret what he did.
No,
He was trying to make it equal. He wanted them to make the amount.
yeah, I know he was trying to make it equal, but I don't know all the calculations that were used in figuring it out. Because I know it's a complicated way, because I did it one time in contract negotiations, figuring out everybody's pay. And everybody was upset that that percentage increase was going to give them so little of an increase in pay when actually everything was coming out of it. That it wasn't, that they didn't calculate in.
So, would they pay us the big bucks for?
Yeah.
Do we want to kick this can down the road a little further? So next month and come back again? Or do you want to make a motion on it and put it behind us?
I make a motion that we leave it as is and move on. It was something that happened and it has been stopped, and that's that.
We have a second?
Second.
We have a second?
So leave it as is this, or
As is that they don't get anything.
They don't get a pay raise.
Right.
Oh, clarify that.
I agree with Charlene.
As described in 8A.
I'm in the middle of a motion and a second. So the motion is that they do not get the additional compensation. And so that would reduce their salary. And then we will just move on from there. That's the motion and the second. Do I have a vote? Roll one. Okay, roll one. Zone 1?
Yes.
Zone 2?
I'm going to say no because I want clarification on the figures.
Okay. Zone 3?
No.
Zone 4?
Yes.
I'm going to say no as well. I would like to see this behind us.
What do you say? You want to see it behind us?
No, I'm agreeing with you.
Oh, well, then you want to vote yes.
Oh.
If you're agreeing with me, you don't want
Let's start over again. You said no.
I'm voting yes to the motion.
Most of the motion.
That it stays as is in 8A.
Okay. Motion as it is to stay as it is. That's your second?
Yeah, I've made the motion, she seconded.
I mean, but that's what you're...
Yes.
Just I want to make sure everybody's crystal clear. That means their hourly rate stays the way it is and it's not adjusted for the reduction.
So that's not what 8A says, and she says she's voting yes for 8A.
That's what I'm trying to clarify. I just want to make sure staff recommended we adjust the hourly rate so their annual compensation stays the same.
Second part is...
But Charlene's motion was keep their hourly rate the same so their annual compensation will go down.
Right.
And so, and you seconded that?
Yes, yes.
You
Apologize
agree?
for the confusion, yes.
Okay, I just want to make sure we're clear that staff goes into that, this time, never paid.
Okay. So we're at motion to keep their salaries without the increase. We have a yes from
Keep
both.
their hourly rate the same with no adjustment.
Hourly rate the same, no adjustment.
Still yes.
Okay. You're still a yes? Roger still a no, looking for more clarification?
Yeah.
Okay. Yes or no?
She's next.
Oh.
Okay, I'm a yes.
Okay. Yes and?
No.
No? No? I say no.
That's what it is.
I'm sorry.
Okay, so you want them to get a raise, is what you're saying?
Does that yes mean, does that no mean yes?
Yes.
Does that no mean yes?
I know it's going to, just let me just summarize. The motion was to keep their hourly rate the same. That motion failed.
Okay.
So, as it sits right now, correct me if I'm wrong,
Without direction.
their hourly rate is still the same. They're not working overtime. So if this commission takes no action, is that where it stays? They keep the same hourly rate, and there's no overtime.
Right.
So the only way, and so really you're,
No, just
help us out.
Yeah.
I'm not gonna say, so
I would like to table this until next month, or next commission meeting, to get clarification on how
I mean, I read what he wrote, and I can tell you that it's better to come from Zach to make sure I'm correct. So you'd like Zach here next meeting to explain?
Okay.
I'll get with him before then.
Okay.
All right, so
let us be clear.
We're going to push it down the road a little bit longer.
We're not going to make a decision. If we don't make a decision tonight, then the motion to that second, to not to do anything tonight, let me clarify. To not to do anything tonight, we would have to have a 3-vote yes.
Well, let me summarize it.
We got a motion.
There was a motion, I'll just summarize it. There was a motion to keep their rate the same.
With no
It
increase.
was seconded, but there were 3 no's to that motion, so it failed. So now we have no motion,
Okay, we got a motion.
and now we have a motion to table.
All right, very good.
Is there a second to table?
Motion to table and a second.
Is there?
Going once, going twice. No motion to table.
Okay, so that motion to table is gone. If y'all do nothing, go on to the next item. Never talk about this again. What happens is, their hourly rate stays the same and they don't have that overtime policy anymore. And I don't need peanut gallery.
Yes.
Straight out.
Okay.
That's what will happen.
To eliminate the overtime. That's a
That's stopped, the overtime is stopped.
that's where I'm at.
The
No.
Overtime stopped before this meeting.
Thank you.
Overtime is gone.
All right.
So if y'all take no action, their hourly rate will stay as it currently is. It will not be adjusted in any way to attempt to compensate for the overtime they used to get paid.
Right.
So that their annual salary would be the same. Not to throw any confusion into this, but it doesn't have to be nothing or everything. Y'all could come somewhere in between and say, let's give them a little bit of something, but not the whole thing. But I'm not suggesting you do that. It comes from your administrators. I'm just saying, but it's not an all or nothing proposition. But if there is no more motion made and we go on to the next item, their hourly rate stays the same and administration has stopped the overtime.
Yes.
So, if there's no motion, we can go on to the next item. It's up to you.
And they stagger.
That's what actually what started the meeting. We started the meeting with what we are now finishing. We're not changing anything.
You haven't done anything.
We haven't done anything.
Next item.
Next item. Okay. Compensation, that was number 8. All right, before I go to the next item, does anyone need to take a break? Okay, let's keep moving. Retaining K evidence for EFRA application project. Anyone want to speak to this?
Just for everybody up here's information, the handout I gave you explains the FROC program that the state has.
Which one?
It's in that stack here somewhere.
Okay.
That's TPO. One of those is this one, the fact sheet.
Okay. Fact sheet. All right, the shorthand of it is that what we were looking to do, and I guess I should go straight to the salary part of this. Because of the hurricane seasons that come around, and because of FEMA is going to be usually the ones that need to underwrite the repair of the hurricane damage. The applications that FEMA require, sometimes they can be very convoluted. This FROC, as I understand, that if we can fill this out prior to a hurricane, the information that the FEMA would need if a hurricane does occur,
that the FROC application properly filled out could give us at least up to 80% in immediate result of a hurricane. And that 20% in between would be a cushion that we could either, if we were not fully compliant with the application, that we have that cushion. So, is that an understanding of it? Give us the understanding.
Where'd you get the 80%?
80% is explained.
Maximum.
The coverage right there.
That's our score.
It's the maximum score.
That's, the 80% is your score that you get from the state based on how much of this program has been addressed by June of this year, which we cannot participate in because we didn't get the paperwork done by December.
Oh, I know all about that.
And that was where I made a mistake of that young lady in the back. I thought that was her.
To find somebody else, it doesn't have to be called in the place right now. It can be because they offer the training and everything that needs to be done and how to go through everything and the requirements, and the next one don't start until next fall.
And the other thing about the program that was pointed out to us is that there are other cities that have already qualified for this, and their applications would basically be open to public records. So if there was something that we needed to see exactly how someone else did it, we could use their information, or maybe look for someone cheaper, if that was what the hang-up was. The hang-up is that her salary was, I think it was $90 an hour, and it had some other
Up to $5,000.
up to $5,000. Okay, this is the third time this has come up. It's already gone to the wayside twice, and if we don't do it now, it'll be the third time, and I wouldn't want to bring it back up again, to be honest with you. Okay, Lee, you had the final say that you'd like to say?
I guess the only thing I'd like to emphasize the fact, the 80% reimbursable if we are accepted into the program and our application is graded at the 80% level is a very good thing. To get there, we need to have purchasing policies, personnel policies, all sorts of policies, some of which we don't even have. Some we know internally we have, but they're quite frankly not good. And the commission has talked about during the selection process for my replacement, we need to work on purchasing policies and eliminate inconsistencies and all those good things. So it's not just filling out the form with somebody else's plagiarized stuff. You're going to have to come up with all new policies, basically, for all the things that, quite frankly, we should have had all along. And that's going to take time. It's going to take time from the staff level, it's going to take time from the commission review level, and then when we send them in, they still may not be graded at 80%. We still may be graded at 50, 60%, and you need to work on it again. It is a very laborious process. The idea is that nobody, incidentally, the reviews that I've listened to, nobody's gotten 80% yet, no matter how good they are and how many people they have on their staff. So, yeah, I wouldn't count on that number. But whatever we do get, we will then be able to have whatever our claim is going into FEMA would be paid to us very quickly up to that level. And then they can argue about the rest of it throughout the process. We've been 18 months now into the one for Irma, and it has been painful, quite frankly, and not because of any lackadaisical attitude on the part of your staff or anything else. They constantly ask the same things over and over and over again.
And Amy is the girl that is helping us. She has been over backwards to try to help us.
Yes, she has.
She really has.
If everybody in FEMA was like Amy, who was a FEMA employee we worked with, we wouldn't be sitting here talking about this.
But what I wanted to say about this was, FLOC has as many, if not more, rules than FEMA does.
I'm sorry,
They have as many, if not more, rules than FEMA does. You just
laid
out a bunch of them.
True.
A crack ton of them. FEMA is giving us like a hard time, and a lot of that, we did stuff not right. And a lot of this is with the FEMA, with the bidding process and all of that. Same thing FROC's gonna want.
Correct.
So, I think because we're out 180,000 with FEMA right now, not knowing if we'll see any of that money back. We paid, I don't even remember how much, to a couple to go out and recreate stuff that we didn't have for FEMA.
We did fill in holes and donuts, correct?
That's right. And then we also paid Con $5,000. We're still nowhere closer than we were on FEMA. So I don't know if I'm missing something here. Maybe I'm just don't know what I'm talking about. But my thing would be either we go county for all future storms, because we're crapping in the wind this year. We're nowhere. And either that or we pay whoever it is we want to pay and just know we're not going to get any of that money back. There have been so many man hours from Roxanne, you, Dominique, everybody. I can't even say how many man hours was spent on this FEMA in the last 18 months. And we still are answering questions from day one. Where are those ashes? Where is the burn permit? Where blah, 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 blah. So that's just my thoughts on it.
And we get this interesting question from FEMA, and we clean out the pipe underneath Michigan from Lake Helen to Lake Harlan. What was the substance you removed from the pipe?
Dirt.
Right, leaves, dirt.
Dirt.
Yeah. And then they want to know where you put it.
Oh, yes.
That's
Where did
right.
you put it?
So
And where did you put it
it's-
specifically by latitude and longitude?
Yes.
Okay.
Anyway.
So I'm a no on this anyways, if you didn't know.
It's something that FEMA is going to emphasize more and more cities. It's a voluntary program. Participate in the program for their benefit, but it'll take a lot, and for the cities, but it'll take a lot of work in the cities to make that application.
That's why I say go with the county. You don't have to follow all of those rules. You just let them deal with it.
The county has to follow the same rules.
The county does.
And put those requirements on us also.
No, because we're not going out for bids and stuff like that. So.
But FROC also standardizes the FEMA forms, where FEMA constantly changes. They use the exact same forms, but they change the purpose of the form, or next year they'll change. Maybe we'll do it this way instead of doing it that way. FROC standardizes it so the forms are the same year to year instead of constantly changing through the FEMA. And they kind of put it on FEMA to justify changes now.
You're going to be opening a can of worms because, like I said, they're going to want us to redo all of our policies and stuff, but that's fine.
Well, a lot of the policies we don't have.
Well, that's just it.
We don't have a motion or a second on this.
No, we don't.
Okay. No motion and a second, let's move on. Okay, so retaining Kate Evans is a no. And now we're down to request for donation for outside the gates food pantry. Lake Helen based food pantry outside the gate has requested a donation. Their request is attached. And to date, the city has committed $5,000 of the $8,000 appropriated. We have a $8,000 appropriation for donations. The donations already include $1,500 to the city of DeLand to support in the support of the bridge, $3,000 for Massey James Center, and $500 for the NAACP. That's $500, I'm sorry. That's $5,000 total. We have a budget of $8,000 to appropriate for donations, and that number is closely reaching its.
There's 3,000.
There's 3,000 left. But over what period of time? The whole year?
Until the end of September.
To the end of September. So we have less than 9 months to go, 6 months to go.
Did we get a dollar figure request?
Yes.
It's in there in the packet.
3,500.
I'm sorry.
Mine just went straight to the,
Yes.
You may make a motion to terminate me tonight, but I'm going to ask a very tough question. We charge citizens tax dollars. They send in their tax dollars to pay for roads, parks, police, sidewalks. They don't send tax dollars in for us to turn around and give it out to nonprofits and people who don't pay taxes. So I'm kind of, if you tell me it's the Lake Helen way, I won't ever bring that up again, but I've not been somewhere where we're taking tax dollars from the taxpayer's pocket and then handing it to a church. There's separation of church and state. And those tax dollars that we take are to provide governmental services, not to supplement organizations that's mission and role, that the fact that they're tax exempt to start with, yet they still get the same benefits of those same roads and the police and all those services. The reason they're tax exempt is because they have their mission, and their mission is to do what they're doing. So, but if it's your city, so let me know, but it's kind of an odd, not in 24 years have I seen a commission giving tax dollars to a church.
well, it's
It's a food bank.
it's a church is running the food bank, but it's
in town, so they all come get
it's
the
for
money.
the needy people in the community is what they're giving it to. So, I mean, we can give to the needy people too, but we do it through the food banks and stuff.
But doesn't that open you up to the other churches to come in and say, we want
If
money
they're
for
running
our
a
programs?
if they're running a food bank and stuff, they're allowed to come in and ask for assistance.
All right, I won't raise that question again then.
Well, I don't know.
That's fine.
I don't know if we restrict that particular option to churches if they're running a food pantry. To my knowledge, none of the other churches are given anything. Do we have any history of giving money to?
None of the other churches have requested money to assist with their food bank or needy people assistance programs.
I understand. So that might be our answer right there. We have other churches in our community that in some way or another they can either help one another. We do have Master James, it's not a church, so I just wanted to make that clear.
Yeah, they're overseen by a church.
Yes, but their 501 is on the Master James. But I won't argue that with you now. So, does anyone have any blue cards on this? This is an agenda item. Anybody would like to speak?
Paulette raised her hand, but she didn't do a blue card.
I know. Anybody else that has a blue card, please?
I'll take it up. I'll take it up after I speak, if that's okay.
Okay.
I just want to say I am the creator and curator of the Lake Helen's Little Pantry, and I have never ever asked anybody for a dime from the city of Lake Helen, and I have never accepted a dime from the city of Lake Helen. I'm not saying they don't need it, they don't deserve it. I'm just saying as a food pantry, I have never taken any city funds.
Sorry.
Just give it to her.
Okay.
That's all right.
Here is it.
Paulette Smith, 840 West Blighty Road. I can understand where he's coming from. That can be a problem. Usually, when you do food pantries, you can usually fill out grants and you can get food through the U.S. government. It's a lot of different ways to get food from the Share Farm Association. Lake Helen is the only one I know, and I'm involved with a lot of different city activities in DeLand as well as county, even with the neighborhood center. I pick up bread and I donate it to the city of DeLand, Spring Hill Resource Center. Publix donate, a lot of grocery stores donate food for you to give away in your pantries. And that can become a problem because if every church, say we got 10 churches in Lake Helen, if every church asks for $1,000, we're gonna be out of $10,000. Now, with you getting the donations through NAACP, you can say you're giving scholarships for people in the Lake Helen area. That's a scholarship is a different thing than saying you're giving money for food per se, because we're opening up a can of worms.
Thank you. Ms. Betty?
Betty Doherty, Lake Helen, Florida. I'm with the food bank, and we have 100 to 100. We have 100 to 100.
She's going to give you
Well,
that.
that one will work. You just have to.
It is working.
We have 100 to 150 people, and they are needy, and we have been helping for 12 years now. We've had the food bank, and there is a need for it, and that's why we requested the money. Food has gone up astronomically, and we're all on donations.
What is the amount that you were asking for?
3,000.
3,000? That's the balance of what we have left in our...
And that would be nobody else would get it.
Yeah.
This is fine.
If we're at the max, it would be $3,000 is all we have to give out. So
Anything is welcome.
okay. Are there any Scott? Scott, yes sir.
Can I just ask her one question?
Yes sir.
Do you have records or keep track of the families you serve? How many of those families are from the Lake Helen area, or do you have a sense for that? Or how many are from outside Lake Helen?
It used to be just for Lake Helen, but now there are a few that are out, but it's mainly Lake Helen.
So you would say that, would it be fair to say the vast
75,
majority of the
yes.
families you serve are from the Lake
75%,
Helen area?
yeah.
Thank you.
I have a question.
Okay.
I would say that I ran a food pantry out of Deltona, and the way that we ran the food pantry, everyone that was recipient, we had their name in an application. The food I got from Second Harvest. We could tell you by the amount of the poundage of food, at 29 cents a pound at the time, how much it would cost to get one bag of food. So what I did at that point, there was a gentleman by the name of Dan Rubin. Those of you who know his name, Dan Rubin was running for mayor. So what I was able to do with Dan Rubin, just to answer your question, I was able to have him underwrite all of the food pantry bags that came from Lake Helen. And I can give him an exact amount, because I can tell you, if a can of corn was 16 ounces, and let's just say I just gave one can of corn, well, 16 ounces for a can of corn is 29 cents, and for each can of corn that I gave out, he would pay us. The names of the people who were on the food pantry, he had a name, their address, and their phone numbers. We did do food pantry, the church was in Deltona, but because I lived here in Lake Helen, I expanded it here because I had a donor that would underwrite the entire project. But that's 12 years ago. Things are happening, people are hungry, food is high, so maybe we need to find some other way to reach out to these people.
The only reason I asked her that question is, you've heard me say before, whenever you spend money, it has to be primarily for public benefit. When I say public benefit, that is a Lake Helen benefit. So I think her saying the vast majority of the people they serve are Lake Helen residents, would help establish, depending if you want to go that way, that would set the basis of saying there is a public benefit to Lake Helen with this food pantry because they mainly serve Lake Helen residents. And I just wanted to get that on the record. That's the only reason I asked the question.
One of the things that I found on my desk was a policy, which was not actually a policy.
I think it was more of a proposal of how we donate. And maybe that might be something that we might need to come up with if we're going to do it, to have it in a formal basis. If that's what we're going to do. I mean, we don't have one right now. I think the only part, I don't know what it is, and I didn't write this here, whatever the policy that decided that we were going to dedicate $8,000, and as it reads here today, the city has committed $5,000 of the $8,000 appropriated. So this city commission has appropriated a particular amount of $8,000, and that $8,000 is the limit of what we would basically donate. I don't know what the policy is, and that may be something that you might find out what that policy is. The $8,000, if it is a number, how did we come to that number? Who is eligible for it? Do we want to keep that policy in effect? Do we want to increase it? Do we want to diminish it? So do you remember?
It's over the 3 years I've been here, it's basically a number that's evolved into the budget. Started out at $5,000 and went up to $8,000 for this particular year, but it's always been first come, first served to any organization within the city that requests the money. There are no criteria as to what the activity is, what the benefit is, to whom it benefits. It's simply a letter application from an existing nonprofit within the city for the city benefit. It's very vague.
And we also had a big basket that would sometimes just stroke a check.
That's true.
So, is there a motion?
I have a question.
Yes, ma'am.
Historically, what have we offered or donated to this organization? Do we have that figure?
Usually we
how much?
matched what we given to Massey James.
I think traditionally it's fair to say Massey James received the largest amount of the amount appropriated. But other than that, we usually would take whatever the request was and try to fit it within the allocation for that particular. And there's no portion as to type of activity or anything like that. You know, food benefits, food pantries get this amount percentage-wise. You know, some other activity, some other percentage. It just came first come, first served.
But historically, have we donated $3,000 to outside the gates pantry yearly?
I believe last year they were 2,000 or 15. Yeah, it was a substantial amount. Traditionally, Massey James does receive the largest amount.
And Massey James also has a program coming up, I think next week, is that they want people to donate food. So they have a donation where you can bring food or water, is what we're bringing, and they distribute. I don't know. I don't want to go into. I don't know the exact. I was asked by Gloria White that I would donate to that, and that's what I'm doing. So.
This is the second time we have asked for help.
Yes.
May I say something?
The donation. You have the mic.
Again, this will be the last evening we'll discuss this based on y'all's policy, but I've been here almost 2 weeks, and there's a second floor of City Hall that's closed and shut down. There's a chamber room that isn't being used. You've got a potential $500,000 problem in reference to fix. We're having meetings in here, so it's almost like every penny we have should be going to city services. Getting a building back up to snuff that is supposed to serve all the citizens
of Lake Helen. So, I mean, I know it may be a small amount of money, but it's like we're spending a lot of time. We ought to be spending time on the problems that we've got to be fixing, that I'm just sitting here in 8 days and I've been working with Lee. That's just my recommendation, but you all set your policy and I won't say another word from that and we'll move on, okay?
Nancy?
I'm sorry, I just wanted to add, when you're talking about the Massey James event coming up on the 22nd, those donations actually go to Beyond the Gate. And I think that's sometimes how the difference in amount has been. Massey James offers different services like the veterans, for the veterans, all the dinners, things like that. Beyond the Gates is funded through different donations. Other organizations donate to them too. So I think that's where the difference in amounts comes in.
Okay. No motion?
Just for a little bit of knowledge on it, there's a lot of cities. I know Deltona has usually set aside $10,000 to give out to different organizations around town. You had to, prove you're a 105c3 and stuff like that. And they ended up getting so many requests that they ended up putting a cap on it, that the people were only allowed to get up to $1,000 per year. And then there's been a couple of years that they said they wouldn't finance the program, so they didn't have any money to give out. So we're not the only city in the area that does it. And it's not just, the churches, it's anybody that's got a 501c3. But once the money's gone, the money's gone.
Moving right along. There's no motion, there's no second. Okay.
I make a motion that we give outside the gates at $3,000 as requested.
Is there a second?
Second.
Second? Okay. Motion is second. Zone 1?
Yes.
Zone 2?
Yes.
Zone 3?
Yes.
Zone 4? No.
I would have went with
Okay. We have 3 yeses. I vote no.
And I would like to see that we bring policy back for discussion, so that we can outline this a little more.
I don't think we have a policy. I think it was something that the commission has just budgeted for.
Right.
Because the need was out
There was,
Yeah,
there was a policy on the drawing board, but never got looked at because it was in my office. And I just didn't want to give the full amount and leave out anyone else. So $3,000 is what was motion. So not to have to explain my no, but that was my intent.
Can we say then that that's it, there's no money, so no more requests?
Right.
That
that
we'll
line
accept.
is capped for the year.
Spent the 8,000.
Well, the line has got $3,000 left on it because it was $8,000. And $5,000 has been utilized.
You just gave 3,000.
Oh, that's right. I'm counting backwards. So yes, Ms. Betty, you have the balance of the $3,000.
So that means administration, anybody comes in and makes a request, administration's gonna say, no.
Not for the rest of the year.
Gotcha.
Just so you understand.
All right.
And could we direct staff to bring back for consideration a policy, the outline? Maybe we need to have it in a workshop. I have a few workshops here that we brought up last time, but maybe we could have a workshop on outlining a policy for that, so it is more clear for staff and for ourselves, so we don't kind of get into this back and forth.
Thank
Is
you.
that a motion? I'll second it.
Yes.
Motion and a second?
Yeah, a workshop on donation policy.
Motion on a second on making a workshop. Zone 1?
Yes.
Zone 2?
Yes.
Zone 3?
Yes.
Zone 4?
yes.
Yes. So yes. So we have a workshop to prepare for. Approval of resolution 20-02401. Application for a state Florida SRF engineering and planning loan. You read it by title?
Sure, I can do that, Mayor. Resolution 2024-01, SRF project number EW64031, Water System Modernization Planning and Design Project. A resolution of the City of Lake Allen, Florida relating to the State Revolving Fund Loan Program, making findings, authorizing the loan application, authorizing the loan agreement, establishing pledged revenues, designating authorized representatives, providing assurances, providing for conflicts, severability, and an effective date.
Any discussion?
You want an explanation? This is a resolution the state requires under the SRF, State Revolving Fund program, to ensure that staff does not submit requests for money that the commission doesn't approve of. To be very candid with you. So your approval is necessary for us to send an application for $500,000 loan. The money would be used for the planning and engineering of the water distribution system refurbishment that we've talked about for so long. So this is a process necessary to fund that activity. Then after that activity, the engineering plans are all approved, and then you go out to bid, and then you fund the actual construction, which is now estimated about $5.5 million.
Can I get some feedback from our water department?
I wasn't here for any of that, so I know we have to do it. If you want to continue getting the water system upgraded, it has to be done. In order to get a plan together, what you're going to do.
In your, I just want to ask for clarification. I know that on more than one occasion we have talked about a third well. Would this facilitate that?
Fourth well.
Fourth well.
I haven't looked it over, so I can't tell you how it's
Now, this does not include the fourth well. This is just for the distribution system, and this is for the engineering and planning of that system. There would not be any water rate increase necessitated by the new water meter program, nor this one. When it gets into the actual construction, the $5.5 million, there will have to be a water study to see what water rates would have to be to justify that particular payback. This one will not require that.
Haven't we engineered that thing to death?
Again, it's the state required. The state requires that you go through a very elaborate process to make sure that you have everything engineered and done up to every code in the world, including EPA, federal level, and everything else.
Well, then if the state needs it, then I guess we gotta do it.
I'm sorry?
I said if the state needs it, I guess we gotta do it.
They have the money, and we want the money. Yes, we do it.
Yes, we do.
All right, do we have a motion?
Make a motion that we approve resolution 2024-01.
Second.
Second, before we vote, you have a question?
Yeah, I have a question.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Thank you. I've never seen a contract like this before, so I just need clarification. I don't know who put it together, if the city put it together, if it came from the state this way. My question is though that it doesn't mention anything about the commissioners being designated to authorize or be authorized as representatives, only the mayor. What happens if the mayor leaves?
Well, the commission approves the resolution which authorizes the mayor to act on behalf of the commission for any signatures of documents yet to come.
And on behalf of the staff, right?
No?
No,
they're, quite frankly, they don't care about us. They worry about you.
Just for clarification, there are documents that once we vote on certain things and the documents are prepared, the mayor signs it.
Oh, yeah, that I
Well,
understand.
it's the same with this.
Yeah, I understand that you're gonna sign it, but,
That's what that is.
but this says that the mayor is authorized to delegate responsibility to appropriate city staff to carry out technical, financial, and administrative activities.
Lynn, this resolution was prepared by the state. I would not recommend modifying it.
Okay. I just was
Yeah,
wondering.
it's not something we came up with. They said, here's your resolution.
Okay.
We gotta have an approval.
Okay.
Just.
I wanted clarification on that. Okay, that answers my question.
Do we have motion and second?
Yes.
Moving right along.
I thought that's what I meant.
I'm sorry. Motion second and a vote. Zone 1. Zone 2.
Yes.
3.
Yes.
4. And I vote yes. Motion approved. Moving right down to the next part of the septic tank. Replacement of the sanitary septic tank service at Mitchell Field. The septic tank at Mitchell Field is no longer serviceable. That's the ball field. The city has received 3 proposals to replace material and installation. Larry Mills Septic Systems has been serving all city locations for many years. They have always met our requirements both in terms of need and with the proper material and installation. Although the bid of Larry Mills was the highest, the city professional staff considers the bid the best low bid, and so the staff recommends it. What is it? Oh, this is from
Yeah.
Rick Mullins?
Yeah, that's the letter. I just wanted to verify, Mayor, that there is a line that's incorrect. There was a higher bid at $14,550 by Advanced Septic System of Orlando, of Central Florida. So Larry Mills Septic Service was not the high bid.
Okay, so the $14,000 bid over, and we didn't accept that, so we're just done. Okay, any comments on the field and what it does and why it failed and what it is that we need to know?
What has been provided to you, Mayor, is consistent with the city's codes when we are not awarding a contract to the lowest bidder. The justification needs to be put in writing, and that justification has been prepared by your Public Works Director. It has been passed out to you. If you have any questions, I'm sure Rick can answer any questions you have, but that's the justification for not accepting the lowest dollar bid.
Right.
But this is the lowest, most responsible bid to what we were looking for.
Now we're going to hear.
Do you have any questions at all about it? The reason why it's all in my statement I put there. Larry Mills Service has been doing all of our, maintenance and everything for over 10 years. I also went by what the drain fields were. Taylor Septic Tank, which was the lowest bidder, they don't put in the same septic tank infiltrator system. I'm not familiar with it at all. The other 3 bids were all infiltrator systems, and the second lowest bidder had poly tanks, and we wanted concrete tanks because it's right there in front of the ball field where people park. It'll most likely be right there again, and everything else.
What are the plans for that ball field moving forward? I wanted to know what the plans for the ball field are moving forward, because how much does it actually get used?
Well, right now we're actually renting 2 handicap porta johns too, so that's every month also, just so you know. Right now, Lee is in some travel ball stuff using it and everything.
Yeah, it's used, I would say, quite a bit, considering it wasn't used at all when I
Football field too.
Yeah, plus the football field. Both the football field usage and the 2 baseball fields are used for practice only. Nobody uses it for actual games. They play games in other facilities, but they do use it for practice. And it is Monday through Friday after school used very heavily during the school year when the weather's better.
Yes, and we actually, I was going to also let you know, I mentioned it a while back, I haven't gotten back with Ed Sinet Senior yet. He had approached me about donating a whole roof and all the aluminum repair for the concession stand. So we're trying to get some donations and people to go back and put the field back where it is. I think if we do that, we'll get even more people to come there and take care of it, because it's a facility that sits there. It is getting used, but it just needs a lot of love.
I mean, if I could just ask Rick, I know it's in the written report, but just so you can say it to the public here, is that You did go back to the lowest.
Oh, yes.
To see if they would install that infiltration system.
I did talk to Mr. Taylor, and I contacted him and asked him if he would bid the infiltrator system. He said he does not put that in, and he would not bid that.
And you went back to go back to the second lowest bidder to see if they would do a concrete?
No, I did not do that.
On the bid that has the, I guess the poly tanks, your triple poly tank, is that the one that removes 95% of the nitrates?
No, that system would be astronomical.
Okay.
We're not required by that yet.
Yeah, I know.
We actually sent out and got the permit first because we had no idea what the health department was going to require.
Yeah, I'm just looking at the outline drawing, it looks almost similar to that style.
All right, do we have a motion?
That's all.
The motion, is there a motion set forth with replacing our sanitary septic system?
It would be a motion to accept the recommendation of staff to award the contract for the new septic tanks to whatever entity that was.
So, say it.
That's the motion.
Larry Mills Septic Services.
Wait a minute, let me get it back. I'm not gonna
You want me to make it for you?
Yeah, you make it for me, because I don't have to read it.
Make a motion, we accept the staff's recommendation on the Larry Mills Septic Services at $12,500 for replace the septic tank at the ball fields.
Second?
Second.
Second by
Commissioner Donato.
Commissioner Donato. Motion, second, vote, zone 1?
Yes.
Zone 2?
Yes.
Zone 3?
Yes.
Zone 4?
Yes.
I vote yes. Moving right along.
Thank you.
Okay. We're now to our
Quasi-judicial hearing. Yes, someone has to take a break, a 5-minute break.
Rock, I turned it over, remind me. It's like a consent.
I was getting surveyed there for an hour conversation about when should we have a grand opening. They talked about everything but that. Other than that, I can turn it, I can get the race results going on over there. Thanks, Chief, for sitting there. For the code case, you said that. Oh, wait. I didn't send you the one that you wore before. I sent you the one I needed the package. That's what Motion
We're moving to our quasi-judicial hearing. I guess in advance of this hearing, we asked if anybody has any ex parte communication or inputs with any of these buildings that are on this particular ex parte. No. No, saying no. Is there any objection to, how do we do this? Do them all at once? Motion. Do I have a motion that we accept them all at once?
I'd like to make a motion that we accept B, C, D, and E as presented and discuss A.
Discuss the A.
Second.
Motion to accept A, discuss A separately, but to take B, C, D, and E as one unit. So the motion is to accept A and a second on A. We have a motion. We have a motion and a second.
The motion would be, the motion you're going to vote on now would be to approve
accept
B through E.
All except for A.
Except the certificate of appropriateness for B, C, D, and E.
Yeah, that's what you're approving.
That's a group.
Yep.
Okay. So moved and second.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. I approve. Yes. Okay, now discussion on A.
Yes, please. I see on the notes here that there's several pieces that are missing to be provided to HDC for approval prior to CC meeting. I see that on the lot placement, the roof plan, and color samples and color renderings. I was wondering if we have that information. I did not recognize it in the packet.
It is not in the packet, right? But it will not be permitted to be constructed without those things being submitted to the staff.
So the three.
Assuming you approve what's been submitted.
So then
Basically, it's the front page.
Yeah, the red. What's
Right.
in red? What's in red is not.
So then I make a motion to table until next meeting when we have this information.
Motion to table letter A, 351 Delaware Avenue. Sell it. We're going to set aside till.
The one meeting when Bobby doesn't show up.
Yeah. All right. Motion to table until, we have a motion and a second. Do we have a second? Second from United. All in favor?
Did you want to say something, Lee?
I just want to say we told Bobby not to show up, but all of them have been approved by the architecture review board. And so that's the reason we didn't invite Bobby.
All right, all in favor?
Aye.
No.
No? One no, so go by.
Oh, I say no too.
That is,
Are we tabling it?
we are tabling.
Oh.
Yes, the motion is to table.
Yeah.
Motion is to table.
No, the motion passed 4-1.
Okay.
You said,
I said no.
You said
okay,
no.
3-2.
3-2, okay. So we table this? I said no.
You said no, or you said yeah?
What did you say?
You said we're going to table this.
Can you give us the vote again? I'm not sure.
Let's start again. Zone 1,
Motion to table, yes.
motion to table, yes. Zone 2,
No.
Zone 3,
Yes, to table.
Zone 4, no. I say to table.
So you say yes?
Yes.
Okay.
Thank you. All right, we get through this. Okay, yes, this is double speaking. Okay, request event application.
Public forum.
Oh, public forum.
Do we have any other cards?
I think we might have skipped something here. Oh, no, okay, yeah, you're right. All right, public forum. Do we have any public forum in yellow slips?
I didn't get, I'll give you one. Kelly Frasco, 616 John Street, Roger. I'm
That
sorry.
mic does work if you hold it close.
Kelly. It's on. Kelly.
Now it's not working.
Kelly Frasca, 616 John Street. I just wanted to let everyone know that the American Legion is going to be having, and the Auxiliary, American Legion and the American Legion Auxiliary will be having a 5K called the Leprechaun Run on Saturday, March 16th. Registration's open. We will be having free pancakes and beer after the race for the participants, those of age. And it's going to be a fun run, and we're going to have dress up as it's St. Patrick's Day and just have a good old time. So there's some cards up there if you'd like to scan to register. Thank you.
Did you say pancakes and beer?
Mm-hmm. Pancakes and beer.
Oh.
Beer, Kelly.
Carbohydrates.
Free beer for those who participate. A free beer for those who participate.
All right, thank you.
And for anybody's information, if you attempted to register using the QR code prior to the beginning of this week, we apologize. It had been turned off and we didn't know it. It got turned back on Tuesday, so it is, the QR code is up and running to register.
Thank you. Now we have commission's report by zone.
Yep. You go forward or backward?
I'll switch it around. Zone 4.
I got nothing.
Nothing?
I'm tired.
I'm done. Zone 3.
I agree with Commissioner Bishop, I'm tired.
Zone 2.
I apologize to everybody, but I've got a long list.
I need a mic.
Oh, sir.
Wait, Roger. You guys have something to say?
Okay. For zone 3, I'd like to state that I did attend the 2024 State of the County luncheon yesterday to represent zone 3. It was very enlightening. I enjoyed it, got a lot of information of what occurred in 23 and where they're planning on going in 24. I'm very happy to hear what they're working on right now. Additionally, Zone 3, Saturday evening, we had our first town hall meeting. I was very pleased. We had 22 people show up. I thought it went very well. We got to introduce our new city administrator. Everybody was delighted, especially delighted to know that he's also going to be a resident out there. I think things went well. He explained his policies, his beliefs, and a way for us to pull together as a community. So I think it went very well. Other than that, I don't think I have anything else.
So too.
Just before the workshop meeting, Chief Mullins and I were having a talk outside, and he came up with a problem. I believe it was the beginning of last year that the commission said that all of our committees or boards had to go through an ethics awareness training. He said they were not able to find one that was listed other than for elected officials only. So I would like to see if staff could locate one that the pension board would be able to participate in and the other board members would be able to participate in. That's for more than just the elected officials.
Don't they offer them online for everybody? Because I know a couple.
I think so, but
They
I don't know whether they're out online.
They do. There's several options online, so I can provide you with.
Okay, if staff can provide them with a location for us so he can have the pension board.
He can just do it online. They may not have a location because we only do online.
There are some.
Locations.
I have a
There are
list.
some locations. Yeah.
I also had the opportunity to go to a TPO meeting the end of January, and if you look at the maps that I gave you, every 10 years they do a census, and FDOT takes that census and determines the urban boundaries to allocate funding for roads and stuff to the different areas. The blue and yellow areas is what it was from the 2010 census. That's what came out at the 2010 census. The 2020 census, the FDOT they changed the requirements and said it was we concentrated based on population density instead of keeping the boundaries squared off. So the blue area is what FDOT has recommended for this year. And it takes 4 years for FDOT to figure out these maps. So 4 years after the census is when the TPO approves the metropolitan urban areas or the urban boundary areas. The yellow is what the TPO has recommended FDOT to keep in to the thing. And there's some areas when you look at the whole county map and Flagler County map, there's some red areas that are being added. In the meeting, I asked them if they could review the villas, which has been here for a long time, but has not been considered in the urban area.